So this is Alan Wake, Episode 1, Nightmare. And you are?
Alan Wake. I'm a writer.
A narrator. I mean a writer.
They're antithetical to the poetry of fear.
But also a pretentious narrator. So, after telling us about his nightmare, which ironically involves a lighthouse, we see Alan speeding, possibly under the influence, wherein he arrives at Night Springs and promptly kills a hitchhiker. So after deciding he's dead, even though he isn't a doctor, surprisingly enough, his headlights go out. And of course, following horror cliche, the body has disappeared. So at this point, it could be said that Alan is not doing too good. After that, you're going to run down a short stretch of road, find the bridge is bollocksed, and lose your breath. You then get jumped by the very person you thought you murdered, but it's fine. He's cool with it. He's completely okay with it, until you don't recognize him.
You don't even recognize me, do you, Ryder?
He then starts monologuing. After getting insulted, and scanning this barcode for your free copy of American Nightmare DLC, you're told how to avoid dying. Then you realise the hitchhiker is, ironically enough, from your book. And you will then get chased by a black tornado, and that's not racist. So, even with your staggering lack of physical fitness, you somehow manage to make it to the cabin, where the most disposable jock ever greets you, and then is promptly killed. You then get the niggling sensation someone's watching you and wants you dead.
Die.
After that, you're trapped inside this room with no way out, but don't fear, because Jesus is here to save you.
Follow the light.
After that, he tells you some bullshit riddle, which I don't understand at all.
For he did not know that beyond the lake he called home lies a deeper, darker ocean green, where waves are both wilder and more serene. To its ports I've been. To its ports I've been. Do you understand?
No.
Then he gives you the light of truth, the gun of justice, and then teaches you how to kill people. He then flies away with no explanation, and you find out the lighthouse is the only safe place left in the world, even though Alan said he didn't know why he needed to go to it earlier in this cinematic cutscene / early level. Eventually, you'll arrive at Surprise, another bridge, and the black tornado, still not racist, is once again going to attack you. It actually quite likes using cars as ammunition, and is actually very good at aiming those cars. Eventually, however, you will reach the lighthouse, and surprisingly enough, the door is able to keep out the giant tornado that can throw cars about, which makes no sense. Everything is fine and dandy until the lights go out again and you get attacked by a dropper. At that point, you will then wake up in your car, realizing that it was all just an unpleasant dream.
Shh, baby, just another nightmare. Everything's fine. You dozed off.
Your wife then tells you to GTFO of the car, and then you will see that you've arrived in Bright Falls, which is like the exact polar opposite to Night Springs. You then take snack chaps with an old man.
Let's act like we're on vacation. Go stand next to that old gentleman there. I want a shot of you with the town in the background.
Who's a bit too nosy for his own good, if you ask me, and who you will then promptly tell to fuck off. Your editor or your publisher will then phone you and melt your head for a bit, and then you will leave the ferry and arrive in your car at the diner, wherein your wife then promptly tells you this.
Alan, thank you for coming here with me.
That should set off all sorts of alarm bells. Then, after being stalked by a crazed fan,
Alan Wake. Oh God, I am your biggest fan.
ordered about by an old man with dementia,
Do me a favor, Sonny. I could really use a tune right now. Coconut, number 6 in the jukebox.
you arrive outside the bogs, where you rush a man taking a shit to get some car keys. Then, a creepy old woman then solid snakes herself right behind you, gives you the keys and instructions, and then invites herself to your house.
I'll come by later to check how you've settled in. And to meet your wife. I insist.
You then leave, upon World Card Stucky, who was taking a shit, bursts out of the diner with the real keys, begging the question where the fuck the creepy gypsy lady has actually sent you.
Hey, wait! Mrs. Wake! Your keys!
You then learn about Alan's writer's block and arrive at the lake.
Once upon a time, I was a successful writer, but that was a long time ago. I hadn't been able to write a word in 2 years, not since my last book.
We then learn that Alice is afraid of the dark, which is actually pretty convenient for this game, but I suppose you had to have some type of plot point.
Alice had a phobia, the fear of darkness. I wanted to make sure we were inside with the lights on before sunset.
Also, the island looks like a dragon's foot and has a volcano underneath it. So, Alan eventually decides this place is pretty nice and that nothing underhanded could possibly happen. Wrong. So, of course, that you're going to enter your house the only way you know how, kicking the fucking door open. After that, you find an old pile of books and then insult the author, who is almost certainly dead. But at least he wrote a book. Upstairs, your wife is going to tell you come up for a surprise, but unfortunately the surprise is not her. It's a typewriter, which is apparently better than sex.
Surprise!
So you thought you were coming here for a holiday? Nope, your wife wants you to get committed because you're a failing artist, but she still loves you.
There's a local doctor, Dr. Hartman. I read a book of his. He has a private clinic here. He specializes in helping artists.
So now you want to get me committed?
No!
So you yell at your wife and the gypsy woman appears a couple of times in the background. After that, you storm outside and leave your wife, who's afraid of the dark, alone in a house in the dark. You're pretty much a dick. So, you then hear screams and then you run back to the house and get dive bombed by a pack of murderous crows.
Alice?
Alice? Alice!
Yeah, these crows are also susceptible to light and they can hurt you, but don't worry about that right now. So, you're going to arrive in here and wonder where the fuck she is. Then you're going to notice that she is through a broken railing and then dive in the ocean to save her without thinking about how the fuck she actually ended up in there in the first place. Whee! You wake up with an injured head in a crash car without your wife by your side. Only a book written by the guy whose clinic she wants you to go to. You then decide that going to the gas station with the deer outside it is your best bet. Also, you're not getting the deposit back in your car. Sorry about that. So a little further on up, you're going to come across Jesus Light again. He's going to completely mindfuck you by giving you pages from a book that you haven't actually started writing yet. How he got a hold of them, we won't know. You're just going to have to stick around to find out. A little further on, this guy right here is going to scare the shit out of you. I don't know why, probably because he's not a nice person. Then you're going to come across the lumberyard with some lights on and decide that you need help from it. Unfortunately, in the lumberyard, you're going to run across this guy, Carl Stucky. You remember him from the diner? He's still a bit pissed off that you interrupted his shit and let him run out in the middle of the road like a bit of a dickhead. Oh yeah, he's also possessed by what we can assume to be the dark presence at this point, and he wants to murder you. He then starts babbling about the discounts he gives, because they're apparently pretty good. So, eventually he's going to go ahead and he's going to corner you among all these stacks of, well, wood, I suppose. But you're also going to get hit by some trees, you're going to run out of breath again. It's all going to be nice fun stuff. Also, he plays a lot of Assassin's Creed. So, you're going to get a little further up ahead here, and then he's going to decide, now is the point where I'm going to fuck you up. So he chases you, he corners you, and then you almost have a shining scene. Yeah. After that, a digger pushes the mobile home out of a cliff, you kill somebody, and then you fix in a fuse box by giving it a boot. Yeah. At this point, you also find some supplies by Weird Paint. Also, you're going to get the shit scared out of you here. So, after that, you decide that you're going to have to make your way across this fucking river here, but of course you're going to do it in the most unsafe way possible. After that, you get to do this little puzzle to rearrange this. It's really quite fun, I swear. Yeah. Eventually, you're gonna come to another lumberyard. It is here where you're finally going to put Stucky down, like the crazy, possessed, mad dog that he is. Though for some reason he's more powerful than anybody else, but I get level needed a boss, I guess. The moment that giant deer enters your field of vision, it's a beautiful one. No longer are you getting tracked through the woods by men in Adidas tracksuits, trying to shank you with rusty knives and bats. So, eventually you're going to come to the garage, and you're going to enter it, and you see some tinkers wreck the place. Everything seems fine, then the TV becomes possessed, and then you get to watch this pretty disturbing scene of Alan writing.
I'll write. I'll keep writing. Outside there's only darkness. Outside the cabin, outside the story, there's only darkness. I can feel her presence in the dark. Just now, I could smell her perfume in the room. I'll reach her, I'll fix it up. I'll bring her back. The story will come true. If I stop, she's lost.
So naturally at this point, you're clean out of fucks to give, and then you enter the store to procure the use of the telephone.
Oh, thank God, Sheriff.
Sheriff Sarah Breaker, you are...
I'm Alan Wake, but listen. I was in a car crash. My wife, Alice, she's missing.
Calm down, Mr. Wake.
We were staying in a cabin on the island, on Cauldron Lake.
There's no island on Cauldron Lake, not since the big eruption in the 70s.
Please, I can take you there, okay?
You look like you've taken a pretty bad knock to the head. Are you okay?
Listen.
We'll figure this out. Please get in the car. We'll swing by the lake and then we'll go to the station, okay? Mr. Wake, have you seen Stucky, the guy who owns this place?
I realized I couldn't tell her what had happened in the forest. She wouldn't have believed me. And then she wouldn't have helped me with Alice.
So you go to the lake, and lo and behold, there is no cabin, or island, or anything. So that concludes the first episode of Alan Wake. I hope you enjoyed this, as it took a lot of work on my part. If it gets a good response, I will definitely do more, but for now, it's more of a proof of concept, or a little experiment for me. If you did like it, please leave a like. Any feedback, please leave in the comment section below, and if you haven't subscribed, why not go ahead and do so. And I will see you next time.